Hi, this is All to God Show. Thank you so much for watching. We also today, again, we have amazing guests, Pastor Sang and his wonderful, beautiful wife, who plays amazingly. Her music is just heavenly. You want to cry, you want to rejoice, you want to just because the music is such a huge impact. And thank you for your beautiful playing, beautiful music. Today we'll continue talking about coronavirus.
Yeah.
Coronavirus in our actions, coronavirus our desires, coronavirus our the way of thinking, everything. What usually when the time of the time of disaster like this, it's a complete disaster I call. I think we should. That's what my heart is. Just want to speak that we should just unite. We understand that we're all humans. We're not animals. We are humans, created in His own image. I mean, doesn't matter your age, your race, your nationality, your culture. We are people created by the Lord, and we need. And the Lord is looking. God, who created us, He's looking in us and expecting from us to be like Him, to be like we're in His image, and He is all compassionate God. He's all God is Father, loving God. He's. We're just. This is. I would like to encourage people right now, unite and just call forth out of you that goodness, and just don't let yourself, those goodness suppressed by the fear.
That's right.
Don't let the fear go and suppress your joy, suppress your, every day. Today is a beautiful sunny day in Washington. In Olympia, Washington. We need to rejoice and just call for the goodness. And we at the beginning of the show, Jackie was sharing how she is trying to help people doing some whatever the balls of
right. So like just practical things that you can do, and I love what you said, Nika, about like this is such a time where instead of acting in fear, and we're not saying to throw out all wisdom and common sense, but instead of letting fear rule and overtake you, and the fear actually the thing that's making you make your decisions in fear, you're not making the highest level of decision making. And so what we want to do is we want to encourage you to look away from yourself and to start thinking about what other people may be needing during this time. Actually, Nika, you were talking about your in Russia during that time, and that's what led to this conversation. So, if you want to start with that, that was beautiful.
I mentioned something that I in my past. We had a conversation with my sister. She was like, "Who cares? We're from Russia, and we experienced that already." We had in 1990s when the regime, the socialism, communism regime crashed completely, and Gorbachev came, and from socialism they switched, and it was switched to the capitalism, whatever you make it, whatever you would call it. So, and there was time when people panicked. The ruble went gone completely. Everybody lost their money in the bank. Everybody was just very disastrous, and it was a scary time. There was no food. The shelves were empty. There was nothing. The only thing, I still love it, the only thing was in the can, there was the seaweed. I still love that seaweed. I really literally go and buy seaweed. I love dried seaweed or canned seaweed. So only seaweed was on the shelves. So people would get these coupons, the government would give these coupons, you can only have once a month 1 kilo of sugar, 1.5 kilo of meat per month.
Wow.
And then what, like 1 kilo of rice and 1 kilo of something like very, very minimum. So we survived. And my sister's like, I didn't even remember there was tough time. We were just on survival mode, and everybody, doesn't matter. It was like a person has power, they're surgeons, they're government workers, who doesn't matter who was that person or janitor. They were all the same. They were in the same shoes. They would get the same amount of food. They would get the same amount of little coupons. And people actually, I think this was a great time for Russia, for former USSR, for all the countries were in former USSR, they were just compassionate for each other. I'd never seen like people are, invading that truck with the toilet paper, or being rude, or I've seen some videos that people are knocking their different other people's cartons and fighting for the toilet paper. It never was happening. I remember that we were staying in line to get out of that with its coupon, getting our sugar. Everybody was organized, everybody was compassionate, everybody was talking about, and there was time we were helping each other. We are actually that we were knocking the doors and we were seeing children if they have, I remember we were supportive. And I think and that's why the Russia overcame that. It's actually, sure enough, with a couple years, it's established, and people say, look, we went through this, and our stores are filled with food, and everything's good. The business will start running. Small businesses are going to, it was a challenging time. But it's remind me that time, and I know that in America, America was a blessed country, except that the short time when depression was here, depression time. And I think the people of depression time, they will understand. They know how to cope with this.
Yeah.
And but this generation, for decades, America lived in abundance. Yeah. And of course, it's scary things. But you know what? We will overcome.
Amen.
Let's not panic. Yeah. Let's not just be helpful. It's very rewarding to be helpful. To ask, do you have everything? Do you ask your neighbors? Are you okay? Everything's good. We will just wish the best, pray for each other. Just like you're sharing your little situation about your little girl.
Yeah. I experienced it kind of in a different way, but my daughter, who she has epilepsy and she sometimes has pretty severe seizures, she had one in a store, and I ended up having to lay her on a Subway table, and there was a family with small kids eating just a few tables down, and I felt awful because she was vomiting, and I thought, this is terrible. We're in a restaurant at this point. And the mom came over and just handed me a brand new pack of wipes she had just bought. And she just said, here, do you need this? And I did at the time very much. So I used them. And then a little bit later, the paramedics had arrived, and I saw out of the corner of my eye she was leaving. And I went to gesture to hand her back the package, and she's like, no, you keep it. But it was the compassion in her eyes. I remember it just had such an impact on me, because she really couldn't do anything about the situation I was in, which was stressful at the time. But it was just that she wasn't judging, and she was compassionate. That had such a deep impact. And I think sometimes we look at a problem so big, like Corona, it's affecting so many countries, and we just think, what can I do? I don't have, I can't provide toilet paper to the whole city or this or that. And I think it's just really valuable to be reminded that just sometimes the compassion in our eyes and meeting one logistical need for someone is really impactful, and it's really a beautiful way that God's goodness can just go through us. And so I would just encourage, that kind of behavior, just looking out and just looking for those moments where we may not have everything to offer, but we have something that we can offer, and it's a huge blessing.
At least asking, are you okay?
Yeah.
Is there any things I can help you with this, my ability? I remember, just quickly, I know you have something to share with me.
Please.
So I remember, we could just knock the door of our neighbors, because we lived in many stories apartments. That's how Russians, they live in big cities. So I could, doesn't matter, my neighbor can come knock the door and ask for whatever she's short in sugar or salt, or maybe you have extra bread. So there was no question, we would be sharing, and that next day, and the Lord, actually God is, this is because it's written in His word, His promises. He will bless those who will bless others. So it will always come back. It's just even people don't believe in God. If it's saying that it's like goes and come around. Everything goes. If whatever we let go and help people, that help will come back 7 times more. That's the law of living. That 7 times more. For some reason, the Lord returns 7 times more. If you did evil once, 7 times more evil, you have to eat it up, So same thing with the blessing. So this is my encouragement. Just please, we need to stay as humans, as a loving people, because God is loving. He made us this way, and we just call forth that good things out of us in this time of troubles.
Yeah,
that's so good. Yeah, as image bearers, our our duty here is to express the very nature of God, and that's why He put His very nature within us, is so that we can be true image bearers to the world. What God is, what God is like. And so I love the fact that just little things you can do, showing acts of compassion, love, and that you actually are caring, can go such a long ways. There's stories after stories after stories of just little small acts that the person doing it maybe didn't think of a big deal, but it was such a big deal to the person, the recipient who had it. And so and like Jackie, my wife here, she's I get to brag on her a little bit, but she's so good. I think sometimes Christianity, we have all different flavors and all different spectrums of it, and I love the spiritual, mystical side of that. It's wonderful. But I think one of the things that we really need to understand as well is that there's a very practical side to the way we do things. And so all of it reveals the nature of God as a whole. And so Jackie, if someone's sick or not feeling well, she'll make them this little health kit, I guess, recovery kit, where she'll put bone broth and maybe a little foods and essential oil sprays and things like that, even a diffuser stuff, and she'll bring them to people that are in that place. Or if the mom's sick or something like that, she'll make a casserole and we can get it to them so that they don't have to worry about cooking. And just those little things you can do, especially during this time, for your neighbors, for the people you know. Text the people you know, see if they're doing okay, at least knock on your neighbor's door, see how they're doing. We just encourage you to really get out and just to meditate on, oh man, if I were to put on Jesus right now, what we were talking about, to put on Christ, what would He be doing right now? And I believe that He would not be at home locked up. And for those of you with medical conditions that are extra at risk, we're not saying that you need to go out and just do this unless you hear very, very clear direction from the Lord. So it's, we understand that different people are in different shoes, but I think for the majority of us, that Jesus wouldn't be boarded up in His home. He'd be out there showing compassion and the love of God to the people out there.
That's great. Any other thoughts about the situation when we need to call forth our love of God from us?
I would just say that I don't think it was meant to be necessarily a work or a striving. So if some of you listening are maybe struggling with it and you're just feeling afraid and really having a hard time maybe looking at others and having that compassion, I think we all realize when stressors come into our life on a small scale, but even on a big scale like this, that a lot of our true nature comes out. And so if you're not necessarily happy with what you're even seeing in yourself, it's not like you need to try harder. I think it's just to come to a place of rest and say, okay, God, I really want to see more of you in me. Like, how do I surrender myself to you on a deeper level so that your goodness can flow easily through me? And so I would just encourage everybody, don't just try to keep pushing it, but actually just press into God, press in to Him and just say, God, I need more of you in me. I need your nature to come through. And I think He is really more than faithful to
absolutely.
do that in us.
And I think it's normal because we do have a soul that needs to be brought to the Lord. And soul has emotions. Where the emotions locate? In the soul. That's why we need to renew our mind. And soul will say, oh, I'm afraid. Oh, what am I supposed to do? And the soul tend to panic. But we say, it's okay, because God knows we have soul and we live on this earth. So, and then when you say, like when I say, sometimes I get irritated by people's behaviors and say, oh my gosh, So, but I say, Lord, you know what? I got so irritated with this situation and I got upset with this person, but I don't want to live with this. Just take away, I'm giving to your hands. As soon as I say, Lord, you the master of my emotions, you the master of my life. And just He orchestrates immediately. I have this, oh my gosh, I feel bad now. I need to go I'm sorry, I was, a little upset with you. Or God will move to do right things. And it's okay if you're afraid. You just give your fear to the Lord. You just say, Lord, I'm weak and I'm afraid and I don't know what to do, but the Lord, please handle that for me. Take that fear away. He will, 100 and above %, because it's working for me. If it's working for me every
So
time,
good.
it will work for you too.
Yeah.
So, and even though you never experience that close understanding, or you have don't have ability to hear Him like audibly, yeah. So, but at least the Lord says, actually, He says that God says, test me how good I am.
Yeah.
Test me. It's in His word. Test me. Yeah. Test me my goodness. Taste me and test me.
Yeah.
So this we can examine God. So you can just say, Lord, I've heard about you. I never met you. I never don't know. I have heard so many wonderful things. I'm going to test you. I'm going to take my fear and give it to your hand. I mean, like, start with something. So I 100% I guarantee because I live that life. That He is going to change the way of you thinking.
Amen.
He will change, and you will see the light. You will see different way. And please, when you ask something from God and He gave it to you, don't forget to thank me. Thank you. That's amazing. Gratitude is a great thing.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
That's so good because when we talk about coming to the light, that's what the problem is that we hide behind the tree, we hide behind the bush. When it comes to God, with some of the things that we know may be ugly, that we're dealing with inside. But the problem is that we hide it. But see, God already knows everything.
Right.
And so what we do is when we come to the light and we come to Him completely bare, completely naked, and we're okay with it.
Yeah.
And we can just come exactly as you are. God's not intimidated by that. In fact, being able to come to God in that way really shows a level of trust and the love of God and the gift of forgiveness and non-condemnation that you come to, where you can be completely bare before Him. And it's such a healthy place. And then of course He clothes you
That's right.
with His garment of light. And so
Yeah,
cool.
and that's what was just ringing through my heart was just there's no condemnation. Wherever you're at in this journey and in this walk, I think God's heart is to just use every circumstance to take us to the next level of depth and of walking out His love. And so, knowing that you can come and you can lay bare yourself and that there's never going to be condemnation. And if you have condemnation and guilt, it's knowing where it's coming from. And it's not from Holy Spirit.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
yeah.
Like remembering at the cross, three of them, Jesus in the middle, and He said, "At least you remember me. I deserve, but remember, that was enough." So the Lord didn't see any of His guilt, anything. He just laid everything to Jesus. He said, "I deserve, but just maybe you will remember my name. So maybe you will test right now in this situation." He said, Lord, I'm going to ask you this. And I'm going to expect that you're going to do it for me. And He will do it for you. But you need to just come to Him. With any of your problems, with any of your hearts and any things, this is nothing. Lord knows you're in and out. Because His word says, I'm the God of every flesh.
Yeah.
So He's your God.
Amen. That's a really good word, Nika. Yeah. You want to bless the audience? Want to close up? Yeah.
So we'll just pray.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll just ask Pastor.
Okay, all right. So, Father, I want to thank you for all the viewers here. And I ask, Lord, that these videos, regardless of who she's interviewing, who her guests are, if it's just Nika sharing some things, that truly that these videos are going and that there's an anointing on these, that as you renew your mind with the messages here, that you will see the fruit and bear the fruit of this in your lives. And so I just want to pray right now for just a blessing, an overtaking goodness of God in your life, that your cup overflows, that you will truly come to the table where you can taste and see of how good the Lord really, really is. And so I just want to bless you with that you will encounter Him in such a way that you will see the work of His hand in your life, and that you will truly see that God is for you, He's with you, He's never been against you, and Jesus Christ Himself is the very proof, the very evidence that God is for you. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Pastor Sang and Jackie, for sharing your precious hearts of Jesus inside of you. Be blessed. Thank you.